Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Ansley. And today we're going to be doing an April and May reading wrap up. It is the end of May. I didn't do a wrap up, like a separate wrap up for April because I didn't read that many books in April, but that's why we're combining them. A decent stack of books to talk about today. Summer reading has commenced. I need to start reading more summer books. I've read a lot of like crime and thriller books recently, and I need to take a chill break from that and start reading some summer books, but let's get into the wrap up. So the first book I read in April was The New Girl by R.L. Stine. I read this as like a really short, fun read because I was kind of in a slump at the beginning of April. I gave this book 3 stars. I might give it like 3.5 stars because I did enjoy this book. This is the very first Fear Street book. And I really liked how it talked about like the origins of Fear Street and stuff like that. The story was fine. Like it wasn't anything crazy. A guy named Corey, and he sees this girl named Anna at his school, and she's like the new girl, but nobody else sees her. And it's basically just like the story of that, like what's going on. And I did enjoy it. I'm gonna give it like 3.5 stars. The next book I read was Postmortem by Patricia Cornwell. This book started the obsession with her books. This is the very first Kay Scarpetta book, which is like a detective series. Scarpetta is a detective, and every book there's like 29-30 of them, and every book is just a different case and her solving it. And I love like crime thrillers and stuff like this. I really enjoyed this book. I gave it 5 stars. I think I'm gonna bump it down to like 4.5, 4.75, something like that. Not quite 5 stars, but I loved this book. I loved the case in this book. I think it was amazing, and I love continuing this series. I think that if you like crime thrillers, if you like Karen Slaughter, I think that you would like her books a lot. The last book I read in the month of April was Body of Evidence. This is the second book in the Kay Scarpetta series. I did get this version, like the hardcover version, but this was signed, so I didn't really want to like touch it. So this is my mom's version. I loved Body of Evidence. I enjoyed it more than the first one. I think I'm gonna give this 5 stars because it has been a while since I read this book, and I still think about it. Reading the last few like lines of this book, like the last line of this book made me so sad. Like I need to go back and read, like I need to read the last line. Oh my gosh, like it made me so sad. Like this case too, this one's kind of longer I think than the first one. It's like 430-ish, yeah, 430 something pages. I was so sad at the end of this book. I also enjoyed this book a little more, I think, because it's about writers. Like there's a writer that they find dead, and was like the apprentice to this older writer who like won a Pulitzer Prize, and they're basically just trying to figure out what happened to her and solve her case. And I loved it so much. I thought the ending was done really well. Made me really sad. I felt so connected to the victim in this book. Like at the end I was so, like they were talking about it, I was so sad about what happened to her. So I think I'm gonna give this 5 stars. Okay, now I have this little book that I write all the books that I read in a month. So now we're moving on to May. This has been like a decent reading month. Like it hasn't been amazing, and it also hasn't been bad. So the first book I read in May was All That Remains by Patricia Cornwell. I just kept going with this series. This book I ended up giving it 3.5 stars. I might keep it there. The case in this book, like reading the synopsis of this book, intrigued me so much, and I was so excited to jump into it. But I read it at a time where I had like no time to read, like at the very end of the school year, and I was kind of in a reading slump while I was reading this book. And these books have a lot of like detail in them, and a lot of times, like I've read 4 so far, and the ones that I've read, like they'll find the killer because of like a tiny little detail. And I love that. I think it's really creative, but you also have to focus a lot. Like it's not like a turn your brain off and read kind of book. It's like something's happened, who killed this person, like let's look at the fibers on his feet to like find out who did, kind of thing, you know? After Body of Evidence, after the second one, I just didn't like it as much as the second one, which is fine, totally fine, because the second one was just incredible. But it definitely still made me want to continue on with the series. The characters in these books, specifically Kay Scarpetta and Pete Marino, I love them so much. And when I'm listening to these books on Audible, because I listen and follow along, every time like I hear their voices, like every time I hear Marino's voice, I'm like, ah! Like I just love it so much. And I'm so happy that there's like 30 of these books that I get to read. I'm gonna give All That Remains 3.5 stars. Next, I read a short story on my Kindle called The Blanks by Grady Hendrix. This is a very short story. It's only about 35 pages. It's a part of, I think, the Amazon Shivers collection, I think. I really enjoyed it. I'm gonna give it like 4 stars for a short story. I'm not gonna tell you that much just because it's so short, but basically think like there's this creature running around this small beach town. Basically, there's these creatures, they're in this small town, and I'll just leave it at that. It was interesting. I liked it. I love Grady Hendrix's writing. So I'm gonna give it like 4 stars for a short story. The next book I read was Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. This was my very first R.F. Kuang book, and I loved this book. I tabbed so much of it. This book was very out of my comfort zone, I think. Like, I've never really read anything like this. I definitely went into it thinking like it was a thriller, and it is a thriller. Like, there's a lot of thrilling aspects to it, but it also deals a lot with like the publishing of this book. If you didn't know, this book is about 2 authors that are kind of like frenemies. One's name is Athena and one's name is Juniper, and she goes by June. But June is not nearly as successful as Athena, and one day like they're celebrating at Athena's apartment and she ends up dying, like choking and dying, and June steals her manuscript. And that's all like on the back of the book, what they tell you. And you just go like through June taking this manuscript and publishing it as her own. And there was a lot of talk actually about publishing a book and like the process you go through to edit and publish a book. And I really enjoyed that. I've heard some people say that that part was like boring, but I really enjoyed that part. I thought it was really interesting. I liked the twist at the end. I did like the twist at the end. I wasn't like, I didn't guess it. I enjoyed the writing in this book. It was very easy to read. Like, there'll be like short sentences, really easy to read. It was really easy to get into. And there's so many like parts where like there's emails or like hashtags in this book or like stuff like this, like emails. And I always love that in a book. I ended up giving this 4 stars. I think I'm gonna keep it at 4 stars. I'm definitely interested in reading Babel now, just because of how easy this book was to get into. So next I picked up The Tenant by Frida McFadden on my Kindle. This book, I had heard so many crazy things about this book and I had FOMO, which is why I picked it up. I read most of like the Frida McFadden books I read on my Kindle. Like, I think the only one I have a physical copy of is Never Lie, and I'll have to find that one. But I've read like 5 Frida books I think at this point, and there's definitely some that I like better than others. But I will say I think The Tenant is the best one I've read so far. I had heard that this one was really good, and I heard bad things about The Crash, and then I heard good things about The Tenant, and they both came out recently. And I will say I think this book was a little long. I sat down and read like 150 pages of it in one sitting without moving, and I think that that's like a really good sign. I think Frida books are really easy to just turn your brain off and read on a road trip, which is what I was doing. And they're really fun. Like, I thought The Tenant was really fun. It's basically about this guy that loses his job and he's living with his fiance, and they have to take in a tenant because he's not getting paid anymore. And a lot of weird things start to go down. And I really liked how Frida was able to like make you hate a character in one chapter and then the next chapter make you like them. Because I think that's hard to do. But I enjoyed this book, gave it like 3.7 stars. I think it was just a little long, like I got a little bored at the end, but I also think with thrillers in general, I always get a little bored after the plot twist is revealed. I think that's a given, but I'm gonna give it like 3.75 stars. I did really enjoy it. Okay, and then the last book that I read in May, I finished this book up yesterday actually, is Cruel and Unusual by Patricia Cornwell. This is the 4th book in the Cake Scarpetta series. I'm giving this book, I think, 3.5 stars. I think I feel the same way about this as I feel about All That Remains. I will say something I thought when I was reading this book was that this case specifically in this book would make a really good TV show. Like, it was giving me like True Detective vibes, which I love. I actually might bump this up to 4 stars. Maybe like 3.5, 4 stars is where I'm gonna sit with this book. This book is a lot shorter. It's only about like 273 pages. Also a very, very short audiobook. It was like 12 hours, I think. But I really enjoyed something that she did with this one, is like there were 3 different cases going on, and you're hearing about all 3 of them, so you're like, they have to connect somehow, but it takes a while for you to figure out how they're connected. And I thought it was really, really interesting. Also, like, there's cases and people dying like later in this book that also connects to what happens at the beginning, and I really like that. I thought that there was a lot going on. It definitely wasn't boring. Like, there was a lot of things going on, and I think for how short this book is, it was told really, really well. And I really liked how the ending of this book is setting up the next book, which just makes me more excited to read the next book. So I think I'm gonna sit at like 3.5 to 4 stars for this one. These are all the books that I read in the months of April and May. Hopefully June is my best reading month. Cross your fingers. I will be reading It this month, so hopefully I can get that done as fast as possible. Gotta go read. I will see you guys next week. Bye.